Before we dive in, this week's episode is brought to you by my free cheat sheet, 30 Top Tips to Find Time to Write. In this guide, I give you 30 ways that you can find time to write in the small gaps that appear between the various errands and tasks and responsibilities that you have in your day-to-day life. Now, you might be thinking that you don't have any time to spare, but I can guarantee these top tips will give you writing time you didn't think you had. If you thought writing always involved a pen and paper or a keyboard, think again. If you thought you needed at least an hour at a time to write your manuscript, I help you reframe that. You won't be disappointed. Get your free copy of 30 Top Tips to Find Time to Write by going to emmadesi.com/30 Top Tips. Okay, let's dive in to today's episode. Nikki Vallance is an author, speaker, and a creative writer's coach. Her debut novel, Pivotal, was published in 2019 and reached the 2020 finals of both People's Book Prize and the Page Turner Awards. It is a relationship mystery which explores the impact of a life-changing dilemma on four seemingly unconnected lives and the multiple paths a life may take at the crossroads of each significant decision. In 2021, Nikki founded the Facebook group Lost Books of Lockdown, matching authors with readers who may otherwise never have met. Many new and upcoming authors have struggled to reach their readers because of the pandemic. This group helps bring them together. Nikki is on a mission to give a voice to midlifers who may be feeling stuck. Through both her novels, featuring women in their 40s, and her coaching, she hopes to inspire the closet novelist to give themselves permission to follow a different path and write the stories they have always dreamt of writing.
Well, Nikki, thank you so much for joining me today. It's lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Now, I'll always start off the show by asking my guests, tell us about your journey to writing. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. I'll give you the potted short history because it's as you can imagine with most of your guests, it's a little bit torturous. But basically, I've always been a writer. I didn't actually realise how early I'd started writing until my dad showed me something he kept. He was sorting out some stuff, and there was a little story I'd written with some pictures. It was about a kangaroo. I don't even remember writing it. I think I was probably about 6 at the time. And I wrote loads and loads of poetry when I was in junior school. I wrote a teenage diary, which lots of people do. It may or may not be something that people would share, but it was a habit that I was writing every day. And then it all sort of got put to one side and, life took over and work and everything else. And I guess I've always been writing because I used to write sort of marketing material, and I was in recruitment for a long time, so I was writing CVs, helping people write CVs. But I basically had a coach at one point, and I was pursuing 3 goals, one of which I said to her, look, I don't want it to be structured. My whole life is structured. I'm in sales. I've got a sensible health goal, a sensible business goal, but actually I just want something really exciting and new and fresh. And so I settled on having a creative goal, but I said to her, let's just leave it free and see what happens. And so within a week, I came back to her and said, no, actually, I think I've decided what it is. I want to write a book. And within a second week, I said, no, I know what the book's going to be about. It's going to be a novel. I'm going to publish it. And so it went from being unstructured to being completely structured. And that was sort of, it took me from that point 9 years to write my first book. And I'll chat about that a little bit more. But once I decided I was going to write a novel, effectively, I was sort of prepared to sort of commit to it and admit that I was doing it. But really, it was all quite sort of secretive, really. And then there was a bit of a shift later on when I went, no, this is it. I'm going to finish it. And then I finished it. And then we go from there.
That's so interesting that even though you'd made the commitment to yourself and you'd made that decision, which I think is kind of, that's you halfway there. Once you make that decision, yes, you're a big portion of the way there. But what do you think it was that made you be sort of reluctant to share that with other people and sort of say, I'm going to do this?
It's really interesting because I think it's something that a lot of people suffer with when they first start. If you haven't gone and studied something formally, but you know deep down it's something you are really passionate about, sometimes it's very hard to sort of believe that you can do it unless somebody else validates it. And so lots of my clients now, we'll talk about this later perhaps, but lots of my clients now say to me, but I don't want to share my work because what if somebody doesn't like it? And I've now realised, obviously because I'm many years in, that the best bit about sharing work is the feedback you get from people. And I say to them, look, please tell me exactly what you think. Because actually that's what helps me get better at what I do. And so I'm quite, I guess, thick-skinned now. And I say to people, look, not everyone is going to like every book. That's it's subjective. The whole thing about art and writing novels is that they're not going to appeal to everybody. And so, but actually, if you can be constructive about what you're saying to people, then that will help them to sort of understand, is it something fundamentally that's causing issue for everybody, or is it just a dislike because somebody doesn't like that particular way of writing or that particular genre? Yeah. So I've gone from being someone who was very reluctant to share to being someone who's really happy to do it. And I think it's actually that turning point is when you realise if you don't share, you'll never, ever get your book in front of people. No one's ever going to see it. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of get over yourself and say, okay, I'm going to share my work.
Yeah, take that risk. It's kind of risking that it will be successful as much as anything else. Yeah. So, talking of which, your debut novel, Pivotal, was published in 2019. Yeah. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about it and the inspiration behind it, because it's a fantastic premise.
Yeah. So, it is a story that starts out with 4 seemingly unconnected lives of 4 women in their 40s. And they're basically all thrown by a mysterious bequest that comes from nowhere. And so it actually does really disrupt their lives to the point where they can't really cope with making the decision, because they're put under some time pressure, and there are also some strings attached, shall we say, so that it's not just as simple as saying, here you are, here's some money. So they go to a hypnotherapist to make that decision. And actually, throughout the story, you're wondering, are they connected? If they're connected, how are they connected? But also, what are they going to do? Are they going to say yes, or are they going to say no? And that's what pulls you through the story. But actually, the premise behind it is all about what makes us who we are. And each of those individuals has had things happen to them in their lives that have been turning points, have been pivotal. Mm-hmm. And how does that shape us? And it's those questions about, what if they'd done this, or what if they'd done that? Where would they be now? How would they be responding to this dilemma that they've been that are facing?
Yeah.
And so that was the premise. Where it came from, goodness knows. I literally, as I said earlier, when I had that goal, I thought I'd quite fancy writing a book, and then I was going to sleep. And often that's the time when your brain is quite creative, because it's apparently, because I've done quite a lot of research with hypnotherapists, there's a stage between awake and sleep where your brain is in what they call theta waves, which are below the surface of conscious thinking. And often that's where your inspiration can come from. And so I literally had this idea of, okay, if this event occurred, how would those paths of those people be affected? And so that's where it came from. So the whole story arc and those 4 characters literally landed in my brain in a second as I was going to say, okay, that's it, then I've got the idea. Of course, then you have to build the whole story around that, and that takes time. But but the initial premise came very quickly.
So I can really relate to that, because I'm of a certain age now, and I've certainly kind of got to that halfway point and been looking back on my own life and looking at the decisions that I've made, and some I have regretted, some I've not. Would I make the same again? It's such a interesting period of life that I'm in now, to be able to look back with a bit of distance as well, particularly if I think about my kind of younger self. So I'm sure a lot of your readers must be able to kind of relate to that.
Yes,
I think there.
I do think that is something it's to do with a certain point when you do start looking back. But also I think that lots of people are sort of channeled through this sort of standard waypoints in their life. So they think they have to do things in a certain order. And I've never been someone who's felt that way. And so, for example, with careers, I've changed direction 4 times. And I do it at every point. It's when I get to a point where I think, well, this isn't actually satisfying me. Something's missing, or something, I want to explore something else. And I've always been interested in lots of things. And we spend so much time working that I'm absolutely passionate about this. You have to be spending time doing something that you love. Mm-hmm. Writing is an interesting thing because you don't actually have to give up a job to be a writer. In fact, probably I wouldn't recommend that you do, because it's not that easy to make money from. I mean, obviously some people are very successful and do, but the majority of writers, even some of the bestsellers, have another job as well. Mm-hmm. And so actually the great thing about that is you don't have to decide between 2 things. You can do both. But yeah, so I think it is those sort of waypoints where you think, okay, what am I going to do now? I've always believed from quite a young age that actually you have to make sure that you are happy with doing what you're doing. And if you're not, you need to go, you can take control of that and you can change that direction. But you're right about the midway point. I guess I didn't necessarily deliberately intend to write pivotal for people who were midway, but now I'm starting my second novel, and actually that is the people I'm writing for, and it's basically the kind of book I would want to read, and that's why I wrote what I wrote. But there's also definitely not enough books written with strong female characters, who are at that stage of life. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of trying to redress the balance a little bit and put more of that work out there, mm-hmm. because I'm sure there are lots of people who would like to see themselves reflected in the books they read, and there aren't enough of them. So so that's one of the other reasons.
Well, I've read it and I really enjoyed it, and I love being able to see elements of myself in all of the characters. So I really enjoyed that.
Good.
But so, as you've mentioned, you don't only write, you also help other writers as well. And one of the ways you do that is with your Facebook group, the Forgotten Books of Lockdown, which I think it's a lovely title. And I love what you're doing here, because you're matching authors with readers who may not have found each other because of lockdown. A lot of things were cancelled, weren't they?
Yeah.
So, is that what inspired putting the series on? And can you tell us a bit more about the series?
Yeah, so the group's called The Lost Books of Lockdown. It's a private group, but anyone can join. There's just a few questions you need to answer to sort of show why you think it would be suitable for you. And it's absolutely for that reason. There were lots and lots of events that didn't happen, lots of festivals that didn't happen. And also lots of people publish books that don't have massive marketing budgets or displays in Waterstones. And those books are just as good, sometimes if not better, than the books that you would obviously find through all that promotional activity. And so I just felt, okay, I can't be the only one who feels they had a book out that hasn't really reached enough people yet. Mm-hmm. What if I just set the group up and see what happens? And quite quickly it kind of took off. It is a mixture of people who are just pure readers who love finding new authors, people who are authors, often also readers, because that's quite common, and also a few people who offer services to the authors to help them with their marketing or their social media or editing or whatever it is. I'm trying to bring in those experts as well to help solve some of the problems that the writers have, and also some people who are readers, but I would call them expert readers. So, for example, I interviewed Anne Williams, who's a blogger. She's got over 10,000 followers, and she is an avid reader, and she reviews for people, and she is part of blog tours, and so she is someone who is, she doesn't do it for money, she does it for the love of books, but she's someone who the readers might be inspired by and think, well, actually, I might fancy doing that. So it's really meant to be, because there's lots of groups for writers, there's lots of groups for readers, it's really meant to be both.
For both. Yeah, I caught that one with Anne Williams, and it was really good, because it just taught me a little bit more about the blogging world, and from a writer's perspective more than a reader's perspective, and just how influential it is. It's quite amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, what I like about the group is it's not for me, it's for everybody, and everyone seems to be respecting what the group is for, and it seems to be attracting those kind of people who actually really respect the effort that somebody like Anne puts into her passion. She doesn't get paid for it, and I mean, there are lots of people who can be a little bit snarky in the world, particularly in social media, and it seems to be that most people who are there aren't that. They're actually really genuinely wanting to connect with people and help each other. So that's really, really great. So I do two things at the moment. There's very few features. It's quite new still. I do two features. One is a weekly interview with an author, and the other one is a monthly interview with an expert. And there are more features coming in the new year.
Are you able to share, give us a teaser, or are you wanting to?
No, hopefully. What's happening is I've just literally in the group put a questionnaire together for people to answer, so they can actually steer which features they get when. And also the ideas I've had, they may not be the only ideas. Some people might have some brilliant ideas of things that we could be doing. So I've asked people to make suggestions or to agree with the ones that I've come up with to see which ones we do first. And I think probably the first one is going to be a directory, so that people can actually search for what they're looking for. So if they're looking for help with their book, they can look for that with the business experts, or if they're looking for a particular genre because they've got, I don't know, a 12-year-old niece and they're looking for a book for girls about adventures or fantasy or whatever, then they can look for that. Or if they're authors, they can, even if the readers are prepared to share what they're interested in, find the readers who are looking for their genre. So hopefully it helps people to, because sometimes a feed in a group does kind of become a little bit outdated quite quickly. It's hard to follow. So this is sort of one way of getting to the action as quickly as possible. So I'm hoping it's coming very soon, but I'm not quite sure exactly when it'll be ready. So
that's exciting, and what a great idea. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So you have the Facebook group, but you also kind of on a more personal one-to-one basis, you have your coaching programs that you offer, and they're fabulously titled. So would you take us through each of those?
I'd like people to go to the website to look at them because it was just a little bit of fun. But basically, there are 3 different coaching packages which you can take up if you're wanting to work with me one-to-one. And I know that not everybody would want to do that. But if you decide to do that, basically, you've got people who have no idea what they want to. They just know they want to write a book. So there's a package in there for them. They've got no idea about anything and they need lots of structure and support. And I would help coach them through that. Then you've got people who have quite a clear idea about what they want, but they really know they're not very great at staying accountable. So they just want someone to keep them accountable. And there's one for that. And then really it's just if you want to think about the ideas that you have and the kind of mapping that out. So you've got quite a strong idea about everything, but you just don't want to do it on your own because it's quite a lonely thing. Then I can help you do that. So everybody's different. But to be honest, what happens is often people start on a program and then we go wherever it takes them. So pretty much everybody who works with me, it's a kind of a bespoke kind of experience.
Yeah, that's what I love about one-to-one coaching is that you do get that tailored approach. So you might start off with at the start of the program, you need one level of support, and then by the end, you need a different type of support. And when you've got that relationship with your coach, then they can work together and move together through that. It's very fluid. Exactly. Now, you mentioned at the top of the show there that you've also worked with coaches before. What's been the benefit in some of the coaches you've worked with? How have they helped you?
Okay, so I would say I've probably 3 or 4 times I've had a coach, sometimes for nearly always for different reasons, but I would say the most important thing that I have found having a coach does for me is it gets me where I want to go more efficiently, more quickly. And the reason for that is that a coach will have a clarity of distance. They can see stuff that you can't see. You might be saying it, and they can read the energy in what you're saying, and they can hear the words you're saying and reflect them back to you. And then you get insight and you go, okay, well, I understand now why I'm stuck. And it helps move you forward. So you can absolutely write a book on your own. I did. There's absolutely no reason to go and seek support. However, if you know where you want to go and you want to get there more quickly, more efficiently, then just having somebody alongside you to make that step change is, I think, the best thing. So whenever I've done it, as I said, it's been for different reasons. My life has looked completely different at the end of a 3-month period than it did at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so many things that I was stopping myself from doing have been lifted. Those barriers have been lifted, and I've moved forward, and it kind of takes on a bit of a momentum. I think you have to be careful. You have to appreciate that when you start, it will be challenging, but it will take on a bit of a life of its own, because all those things you've told yourself you can't do, it will actually show you that you can.
Yeah. Oh, so beautifully said. I couldn't have put it better myself. Yeah. It's exactly that transformation that you didn't even know was possible for you comes into being. And do you coach across all different disciplines? Do you fiction, non-fiction, poetry, or do you have a preference?
I tend to. I think I could. I think it's a bit like teaching. If you have a skill to do something, you can coach anybody. But I prefer to coach people who are writing novels, mainly because there's quite a lot of services out there. Some really good coaches who focus on, like, for example, business books or non-fiction passion projects. And it is actually probably a more structured process, because those books tend to be very similar to each other. There's an expectation of what will be in them and the structure they will have. And I think with novels, I think it's harder for people to know what they should be doing. It's harder for them to be confident in themselves. It's harder to have the right mindset. I think if you've got a business and you're writing a book for it, you've already got a business. You know that this is part of your business model. Whereas when it's something you're doing from your heart, and it's nurturing your soul, I think it's harder for people. So in a way, although I could help anybody, those are the people I really feel would benefit best from my support.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Now, as if that was not enough, as if you are not busy enough, you also host a writing community as well, called the Writers Pod. So how does that community work? Okay, so it's a very small group, and it refreshes every so often. At the moment, we're not running a program within the group, but basically it's what I would describe as a writers group. And I set it up because there's lots of people who can't go out. Well, at the moment, nobody can, but can't go out regularly to a venue to meet up with fellow writers and the support that you get from being with a group of writers. So I thought, well, if they can't go out, why don't we have an online group? And on top of that, because I'm a coach, why don't I coach people? So when they don't necessarily need or want one-to-one coaching, they can come to the Writers Pod and they get a regular touch point, not particularly detailed coaching, because it's very difficult to do that with a group, but certainly the structure and the accountability and different challenges that they can do, different features where if they've got issues, they can actually discuss those issues with each other as much as with me. And that is the beauty of you'll know this, that if you're in a group of like-minded people who all have a similar goal, but they're all individuals, and you feel supported and you feel it's safe, then you can do that thing where you start sharing, because you may not have ever done that before. And this is a place where you can practice that sharing of work. And it doesn't have to be part of your novel. It could be any piece of work that you're working on. And often we would have a writing theme. And I just get people to do a little flash fiction or something, and then it comes back and then they get direct feedback straight away, and so it helps to them to grow their confidence in themselves.
And the main reason why I did it is because I felt that people, more often than not, the thing that's going to cause them an issue is their mindset. It isn't really the ability to write or their creativity or anything else. It's about their mindset and their self-belief. And this little group, which normally only has sort of, I don't know, 10 to 30 people in it at any one time, really did give that to the people who are in it when it's active. But at the moment it's not active. And it's one of the things that might get resurrected next year.
Oh, I hope you will. It sounds fantastic. It sounds really perfect for, as you say, for those people who are still nervous about sharing, don't have that confidence, a really safe space for people to sort of spread their wings or put out some tentacles.
Yes,
so exactly. I hope you do. Yeah. One of the things that was part of that, which I was really interested in, was your the Creators Clinic.
Yeah.
Where people could come and ask you questions. And so did you notice were there any kind of themes around the questions? Was there questions that were more common than others? What did you notice to be?
So very early on, the things that people struggle with most when they've made the decision to write a book but they haven't got any knowledge about how to go about it. So the things that come up time and time again are concern about copyright. So people worry that, for example, if they send their book off to an agent, what if someone's going to steal it? And it's quite a legitimate concern because you have no idea how this thing works. But that would come up, and the answer to that is, once it's written, if it's in your name, then that's it, it's yours. Policing it is another thing, but yeah. So and at the end of the day, you're not going to write the same thing, even if they stole the idea. It's going to be written by somebody else. It's not going to be the same book because it's not written by you. So it's one thing that's an early concern that ends up not being a problem. The most common thing is, well, there's two things. One, where do I start? People have no idea where to start when they think about starting. They just haven't got a clue. What should they do? Should they plot? Should they make characters? Should they, think about which method they want to publish through? And so basically, there's a few key things that they can do to get started, and the main thing is actually to get on with it, is to just start writing. And if that's a struggle, putting in place some kind of process, so a particular time of day or a certain number of words, just something that structures it so that it isn't an ad hoc thing. And those are the two things that I recommend to people straight away before they do anything else. And then the other thing, apart from the where do I start question, is how do I make myself believe this is possible? Where do I find the confidence to make this happen? Because once they've admitted they've been there for a few weeks, I don't think I can do this. Something in my head is telling me I can't. And we just work on that mindset thing. We just work on that and say, well, actually perception is, I think it's actually even in my book I use this phrase, perception is 9/10 reality. So if you believe something is possible, it will happen. And if you believe it can't, it probably won't. And what you have to do is get in the head of the person who has already written the book, project forward and imagine it's happened, and then think about how that affects the way you think and feel and write, and believe you are a writer. I mean, I don't know whether this happened to you, Emma, but when I first had a form to fill in, I think it was about 6 months after I started writing, I had to fill in a form for a medical appointment or something. And it said, what is your profession? And the first time I put writer down was like, I just couldn't, I'm a writer. I then put /recruiter/ because there's lots of other things. But, so getting to that turning point of actually allowing yourself to claim it is a big step. And I think that's something that people worry about. How can I say that I'm a writer when I haven't even got a book to show people? Well, as soon as you start writing, you are.
It's one of the things I sort of encourage my students to do as well, is just that mantra of I am a writer, and just kind of keep saying it, even if it's just to yourself initially. It's just a way of sort of building that belief in yourself, and until it feels less alien and actually becomes a part of you. And when you believe that you're a writer, you kind of step into being it, and you step up for yourself and start prioritizing your writing and believing that you can do it.
I did I did a little survey. It wasn't a scientific one. I did a little survey in a big writers group on Facebook a few years ago. And once I'd kind of analysed the results, there were 3 answers that kept coming, because I asked them, what would the 3 most important attributes of a successful writer be? And the 3 that were most common, it was surprising. The first one was you need to have creativity. Sorry, that was the third one, rather, third most popular. And I thought, I would have thought it'd be the first. I would have thought most people would say, yeah, you have to have creativity, you have to have talent. But that came up as important, but not that important. The second most popular was you've got to write, you've got to practice, you just got to do it. The more you do, the better you get. But then the most popular answer by twice as many as the others was persistence. It was actually about just keep on keeping on. And you need it for everything. You need it when you start writing to keep yourself going. You need it when you ask for feedback because you get knockbacks there. You need it when you're sending off work to agents. You need it when your book reaches the shops and maybe doesn't sell as much as you'd like it to. You need it when you get reviews and they're not the ones you want. So basically, you just got to keep going and know where you want to go. I mean, I think that's something that people find difficult. They know want to write a book, but they don't know why. I think if you can find out your real deep down why, what are you actually trying to achieve? Then actually makes everything else, all the decisions you have to make, much, much easier.
Yeah, so true, so true. It has become a bit of a cliche now, this ask what's your why, why? Yeah. But the reason it's a cliche is because it's so important and it's so true. Yeah. And even if it's just organising your child's birthday party, you kind of got to know that you're going to do that if you want to achieve it.
Yes.
So exactly. For a big, difficult project like writing a book, if you know why you want to do it and what you're trying to achieve and what success looks like for you with that project, you'll make the steps in between so much clearer and absolutely manageable.
I mean, you've probably done this as well. If you ask yourself on anything, why, but you ask it 5 times, like your kids do when they're little, but why? If you keep doing that, actually you get to the real why. Because I think sometimes people say, I want to do it because I've always wanted to. Well, that's not really deep enough. You need to go, but why have you always wanted to? And then you just keep asking that question. You really get to the heart of what it is that makes you tick. And I would always advocate have the biggest possible goal that you could ever imagine, because it will take a long time, but there's no reason why you can't get there, but you have to be persistent.
Yes, love it. So you are working on your second book, as you've mentioned. Are you able to share anything about it?
I can share a little bit. It is so it's a similar audience. It's the characters are in their midlife, and it is a dual timeline story set in the late 80s and early 2010s, 2010, 2011, and it's a very easy to determine the genre. It's a proper romance. It's a true story romance of second chances.
Oh, lovely. I love a dual timeline, so I'm excited about that.
And also, I think for our age group, I mean, you're not the same age as me necessarily, but I think we reach a point and we do look back, and actually we often look back to that really formative sort of teens, young adult time. And for me, that was 80s. And so that nostalgia really plays into the book as well.
It frightens me, that our youth is now considered historical.
Whatever. It's
makes me laugh. Oh, well, lovely. It's been so nice chatting with you, Nikki. Thank you so much for joining me today. Just before we wrap up, I wonder, could you let our listeners know where they can find out more about you, your coaching and your fiction?
Yeah. Okay. So it's very simple. My website is myname.com. So it's Nikki, Nikki, Vallance, VALLANCE.com. And I am on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, although I'm not there very actively, and Instagram. all under my name. Some of them have got underscores, but you should be able to find me quite easily. And it's all linked through my website as well.
Fantastic. Well, I'll be sure to put a link to your website in the show notes so everyone can find you easily. Nikki, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Before you go, here's a word from my friend Stephen Schneider over at Discovered Wordsmiths podcast.
Hey, this is Stephen Schneider, and I know that doesn't matter because you have no idea who I am. Well, I run a podcast called Discovered Wordsmiths. This is a great podcast where we talk with brand new authors, people you've not heard of, but probably should because they have some really great books and a lot of great information that they've learned as new authors. So if you're interested, run out right now. In fact, go. It's going to disappear. You got to do it quick. Just whatever you're listening to this on, use that, look us up. That'd probably be easier. So anyway, it's Discovered Wordsmiths. Check us out.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found that helpful and inspirational. Now, don't forget to come on over to Facebook and join my group, Turning Readers into Writers. It is especially for you if you are a beginner writer who is looking to write their first novel. If you join the group, you will also find a free cheat sheet there called 3 Secret Hacks to Write with Consistency. So go to emmadesi.com/turning readers into writers, hit join. Can't wait to see you in there. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.